I'm also going to apologise for people that have heard me talk about the analogy I'm about to talk about before, but to me it's a very powerful analogy, and it's something that I experience on a daily basis in my role trying to address science and maths education in Australia. Because raise your hand if you've heard of a game called Tetris, a computer game called Tetris. Good. So if you remember those early days when you first saw Tetris, and for those of you that have played Tetris, is this working? Yep. You'll remember that blocks fall randomly out of the sky. They leave you to fit them into rows as they fall, but they fall faster and faster. You panic, disaster strikes, and so you start again and again and again. There is no strategy to Tetris. There are only slower and faster ways of losing. Well, for me, Tetris has prepared me for a life in maths and education policy. We function in a world held together by staples and sticky tape, always scrambling to keep our Tetris blocks in order. So much of the funding is tied up in short-term and small-scale problems. So little of what we do is captured in data that might help us to do it better the next time. So few teachers and principals in schools have the resources to catch their falling block today, let alone think about what they're going to do when the next thing lands on their heads. And so many rival groups are working on producing new staples and new sticky tape. And the outcome of this constant scrambling is predictable. We lose the game, and we end up with an unsustainable, underperforming, and inequitable maths education system. Statistics education is just one part of that education system. So my first message to you today is that if you want to change the way that statistics is taught and get more kids doing it, you need to combine your efforts with those of the education system, maths education practitioners, and particularly those working on the evidence base for some kind of best practice teaching and professional development in mathematics and statistics. I'm going to talk more about that later. Now I'm going to turn to the importance of statistics, because while I really never liked it myself at school or at university because of all the reasons that you just talked about, I know it's very important. Then I'm going to speak about the current and projected demand for statistics graduates and skills, and the supply of statisticians. First, the composition of our current statistics workforce, and second, the state of maths education in Australia and the challenges that we face in preparing and supporting teachers to better teach statistics in primary and secondary schools. So first, why is statistics important? And I probably don't need to tell you why, but it's probably important for you to know why I think it's important. Because I talk to people in government every day. Statistics is the science of learning from data lies at the heart of the quantitative reasoning necessary to advance all of the sciences, and also in business and public policy decision-making. As a society, we rely on accurate and up-to-date data in our work and most aspects of our day-to-day lives. And now, not only is there unprecedented growth in the collection and availability of data, our computers have unprecedented processing speeds and storage capacity. In 2015, the Australian Council of Learned Academies, ACOLA, released a major report on the role of science, research and technology in lifting Australian productivity. The ACOLA panel, which was an expert panel, singled out data analytics as an area that offers enormous social and economic opportunities across multiple fields, such as food production through fine-grained monitoring and analytics of process and quality, in energy and resources with smart grids, energy markets and renewables, responding to environmental change, and obviously in health. The scale and complexity of data is now beyond single computers and single individuals. To analyse this data, we need statistics. Yet, the rise of big data also poses both the greatest challenge and the greatest opportunity for statisticians due to the problems of scale, where existing tools of analysis cannot be easily scaled up and must be improved or redesigned, the complexity of the data, an increased number of spurious findings as scientists move to a data-driven rather than hypothesis-driven approach. There's the privacy and confidentiality of a lot of the data these days, and ensuring that the collectors of big data have necessary statistical training is very important. I'm certain that you'll be addressing these issues in your workshop over the next 2 days. So I'm now going to turn to the fact that I believe that statistical skills are important for all scientists. Statisticians design data acquisition to minimise bias and maximise information content. Statisticians verify incoming data quality, and statisticians undertake meaningful data analysis that supports decision-making. So I just would like to tell you that that person could have been my PhD supervisor. I did my PhD in the UK, and I had a very pure scientist from Cambridge as my supervisor, and the minute I said, I think we need to use statistics, he said, then we won't do it. If the data can't speak for themselves, we won't do it. So there's an attitude there. So must scientists do all these things. Wherever one looks in science, the message is clear. Statistical skills are definitely in demand, whether for the development of randomised controlled trial methodology in drug and other development processes, the discovery of biomarkers through statistical methods, statistics in climate change modelling, data and analytics and big data. We need statisticians, but more and more, we need scientists who can think like statisticians. So let me turn now to demand. The demand for statisticians is a worldwide phenomenon. The US Bureau of Labour Statistics estimates that statisticians are the third fastest growing occupation requiring a bachelor degree or higher. It is estimated that by 2018, the US alone will face a shortage of between 140 to 190,000 people with deep analytical skills, as well as 1.5 million managers and analysts to analyse big data and make decisions based on their findings. That's from a McKinsey report. That's from a McKinsey report. Turning to Australia, recent analysis by our own Department of Employment projected an increase of 9.5% in the demand for actuaries, mathematicians and statisticians between 2015 and 2020. In the UK, graduates with statistics degrees are in the top 10 degree subjects for starting salaries. And in 2014, LinkedIn named statistical analysis and data mining one of the hottest skills that got people hired, from an analysis of over 330 million profiles. So there's no doubt that there's growing demand. So now I'm going to turn to supply. First, I'm going to talk about the current statistics workforce, or as well as we can measure it from the census data in 2011. What does it look like? Well, in March, we released a comprehensive report on Australia's STEM workforce. The data I'm about to give you is data that's building on that data from the 2011 census. So the first thing you want to know is that the statistics workforce of Australia, that is people with qualifications in statistics, is 0.2% of the STEM workforce. So there are about 2.3 million STEM qualified people. About 1.2% of those, about 27,000, have maths qualifications. Of those, 4,513 have statistic qualifications, and of those, nearly a half are female. Most of those have studied at university, and most of those have bachelor degrees, and more women than men have bachelor degrees in the population. And you can see that that relationship changes when you look at the doctoral degrees, but there's only just over 500 of those anyway. So let's go through that in a little more detail. First, the age of the statistics workforce by gender. The female workforce is slightly younger, so the under 35 cohort comprises 28% versus 22% for males. And you can see that it's quite the opposite in the older age groups. However, the statistics workforce is comparatively older. Only 26% are under 35 years of age versus 38% for the general STEM workforce and 35% for other graduates. This is concerning, given that the ability to analyse data is becoming much more, not less, important. Statisticians are employed in a diverse range of sectors across the economy, largely in higher education, market research and statistical services, banking and government administration, but also in hospitals and general insurance, and this is coverage of about just over half, nearly 60% of the graduates. They're also employed in a range of occupations. They're employed as actuaries, software programmers, and management and organisational analysts. What I found interesting on the flip side is that if you look at the main occupation of statisticians, which in the ABS data is actuaries, mathematicians and statisticians, that group, you can see that graduates from disciplines other than statistics actually do become statisticians. So if we take graduates from psychology, from economics, from management, from public health, even from natural and physical sciences. Okay, so that gives you a little bit of a snapshot of the workforce. I'd now like to turn to education, and essentially education is how we're going to supply our future statisticians for this country. While a large number of Australian university students will complete at least some mathematics and statistics subjects during their studies, the number who complete a bachelor degree in mathematical sciences is substantially lower, and the number of domestic graduates in mathematical sciences is declining. So unfortunately we only have these data from AMSI. It's really hard to get data down to the level of maths graduates, definitely down to stats graduates, out of the education department. But you can see that at least till 2010, where there seems to maybe be... Oh, you can't see? Oh, sorry. I can see it. Yeah, you can see that at least until 2010 there hasn't been much happening. But I know for a fact that the number of students studying the natural and physical sciences, and maths comes into the natural and physical sciences, has been increasing, but not as much as the number of total university enrolments has been increasing. So it's possible that it's increased a bit since then, but we don't have the specific maths numbers. In contrast, in the US, and this coincides with the Harvard data from the National Centre for Education Statistics shows that the number of statistics bachelor's degrees awarded grew by 17% from 2013 to 14, and by more than 300% since the 1990s. Since the year 2000, masters and doctorates in statistics have also seen triple-digit growth. So what are we going to do about this? To my mind, we could wait till arts students get to university and then start exciting them about statistics, or we could excite them much younger about statistics. We can't give them the wine, we could give them the chocolate, and we could do that at quite a young age, but are we doing that? So let's just have a look at the state of maths and statistics education in Australian schools. And I know, again, that you're probably focusing more on the year 11-12 curriculum, but really, as I've said, to ensure that we have a capable and enthusiastic cohort of students who want to study statistics in year 12, we need to look earlier. And what we know is that Australian school students' mean scores in mathematics in international tests are declining, and that they're being outperformed by students in more and more countries in both primary and secondary school. In primary school, The TIMS study shows that 30% of Year 4 children in Australia fail to achieve even the minimum international standard of proficiency expected, compared to between 0 and 7% of students in the top 5 countries. In PISA, our 15-year-olds rank only 17th in mathematics, down from 5th in 2003, and our mean scores are declining. In TIMS, only 29% of the Year 8 students assessed in Australia reached the highest international benchmarks for mathematics. This compares poorly with the top 5 countries, where 72% of students assessed reached those highest benchmarks. So there's a huge room for improvement. And what's worse is that research shows that liking a subject is important for participation and success, and vice versa. And TIMS data from 2011 show that Australia's students' liking for maths falls from 45% in Year 4 to 16% in Year 8. That should say Year 8 students, not 15-year-olds, sorry. Making statistics relevant, interesting and fun is very difficult, and it is well recognised that many students, no matter what discipline they are from, have negative attitudes towards statistics. Common attitudes include fear, anxiety, cynicism and even contempt. Often, students think that statistics are just too difficult for them to learn. For at least 20 years, there's been a fall in participation in advanced and intermediate maths in Year 12. Just 1 in 10 students completes an advanced mathematics subject in Year 12. And the decisions made about what to study in Year 11 and 12 have long-term impacts for the student, for the industry, and for the country. At university, it's been shown that you need to do well in intermediate and advanced maths to be able to pass science in first year. You may not get this impression from the course prerequisites of many universities, but you soon find out in the exams. University academics report that students who enter without the appropriate knowledge in mathematics struggle with failure rates over 30%. So it is a problem when student choices are massively out of step with the career paths they realise they want. In 2013, there were 99,000 domestic commencing STEM and health sciences bachelor enrolments, and only 63,000 students taking intermediate and advanced maths. And obviously this also impacts on the availability of mathematically qualified students who can become maths teachers. So we get a vicious circle. In 2011, only 20% of Year 4 students were taught by a teacher who specialised or majored in maths at university. In secondary school, at least 20% of maths teachers are teaching out of field. Most teachers are lucky to sit one statistics course at university, and many generalist teachers will never have that opportunity. How can we expect teachers with this limited to no statistical background to teach this highly specialised field of knowledge? What do we do about this? As James Baglin, who's here somewhere today, from RMIT, says, the issue is not a question of if we must teach statistics, it's a question of how. We must build the knowledge base of statistic teachers and support them to teach it in a way that captivates and engages all students across primary and secondary education. So that's the doom and gloom, and we know that it's not all doom and gloom in Australia, and there are positive things happening in maths education. Last year, I commissioned a national study to build an evidence base for national best practice in maths education. I wanted to learn what schools and teachers are doing where the students have the greatest improvement in mathematics and also good attitudes and engagement. We used NAPLAN data from ACARA to identify schools in each jurisdiction where there has been superior gain in numeracy, that is over a standard deviation over the mean. Numeracy scores have matched students between years 3 and 5 and between years 7 and 9 for the years 2011 to 13 and 2012 to 14. So when I first started in this role, people would tell me it will take decades to get change. There are schools in Australia that have got superior gain of matched students in 2 years. So it doesn't take decades if you actually put the right effort in. We surveyed the schools through an online nationwide survey, and principals, teachers, parents and students in 60 selected schools across the country were interviewed for case studies. The report's not yet been published, but I can share with you some general findings from the school visits and surveys. The case studies are showing that schools with high gain in numeracy are, first, committed to quality planning. 2, use data to target student level and school level improvement. 3, have teachers and school leaders who share a commitment to the school mission and are committed to improvement through mathematics challenge. Have strategies to cater for difference and meeting the mathematical needs of all students. With regard to statistics, the case studies have revealed that teachers do recognise that they have a lack of knowledge and experience in teaching statistics. Essentially, the report found that successful schools leave nothing to chance. They use data extensively and thoughtfully to improve the learning and teaching of mathematics. Then there's the Australian Maths and Science Partnerships Program. Are people aware of, raise your hand if you're aware of it. So some people in here, like Mary, have grants from it. It's essentially a program funded by the federal government, and it's funding a range of projects to improve student engagement in mathematics through partnerships between universities, schools and other relevant organisations such as CSIRO. The results from all of these projects will be available on the Australian Association of Mathematics Teachers Dimensions web portal, and this is going to be a special portal that the AAMT is developing for professional teaching resources for mathematics. One of the AMSPP projects is specifically about making statistics more engaging, and that is James Bagelin's project from RMIT's. It's called The Island in Schools. And it basically uses an online world to immerse junior secondary school students. This online virtual world engages these students in the mathematical and statistical features of scientific experimentation, and it also includes a significant component of professional development for teachers. The work that James has done has highlighted profound interest from teachers in the use of innovative teaching approaches to engage their students in statistics, and also a clear need to address their professional development. There are 6 other, including Mary Coupland's AMSPP projects relating to improving mathematics and statistics education, and one of those is called Reframing Mathematical Futures and is run by Di Seaman, also of RMIT, and it's essentially trying to build a learning and teaching resource to enhance mathematical reasoning in years 7 to 10. And everyone will know that statistics is a major component of what you teach in years 7 to 10 maths at school. What Di Seaman's finding is that statistics is difficult for years 7 to 9 students. She believes that this can be partly attributed to their inadequate understanding of proportional reasoning, and also a reluctance to engage meaningfully with the context of the question. Many students find it difficult to do all the reading and also the interpretation of graphically presented data. So they need a lot of basics before they can engage properly with statistics, and they don't have those basics. Other mathematics education initiatives on a national basis include the AMC Choose Maths program. This is a program in conjunction with BHP Billiton and is a program of teacher professional development, mentoring, career awareness and awards to address the decline of women studying mathematics. And there's also Maths by Inquiry, which is being funded by the Australian government. They're funding the Australian Academy of Science and Maths Teachers Association to develop and promote Resolve, Maths by Inquiry, a series of new teaching resources for foundation to Year 10 students and teachers addressing proficiencies in the Australian curriculum, such as problem solving. The new resources will promote inquiry and reasoning and problem solving, and students will be actively engaged in thinking mathematically and exercising their 21st century skills. So before you do anything else in terms of changing statistics in schools, it'd be really good if you could familiarise yourself with these and other important initiatives, and I'd be more than happy to help you do that. So, in conclusion, long conclusion, the chief scientist and I are calling for a new approach. I think of it as the shift from Tetris to Minecraft. Because Minecraft is a game of strategy, not scrambling. Minecraft is about building something sustainable over the long haul. Minecraft is about working in teams, investing intelligently, thinking before you place that block. We need to do the same in education, and we must learn from what is best here in Australia, but also from other countries. New Zealand and Singapore, for instance, are both undergoing statistics education reform. Instead, today, we are very good at laying blame. Schools blame the lack of university prerequisites for STEM courses. Universities blame the lack of qualified teachers in schools. Schools say universities aren't producing enough maths teachers. Then employers say they cannot find the maths graduates they need, and the graduates say they can't get jobs. And of course, everyone blames the government. All of these groups have a point, but rather than common blame, I think we need to recognise a common responsibility. A child commencing school this year can expect to work into the 22nd century, assuming that robots haven't taken all the jobs. So we have to plan together and work together to guide that child's journey all the way. We need an Australia-wide, Australia brand approach to engage all students, make subjects like statistics interesting and relevant for them, and give them these skills that they will need on the path ahead. We need to give our children a leading edge. A plan which all governments, education institutions and the private sector must sign on to. There's a lot at stake. We've set out 3 priorities for that plan. First, we need a coordinated approach to building a strong evidence base of best practice teaching in a captivating and meaningful way so that we can build on those success stories. Using this evidence base, we need universities to train the teachers our schools need and to support our teachers with professional development and access to the right engaging resources. And finally, we need to expect high standards in teaching statistics in all of our schools. And to do this, we must educate principals to be leaders in science and maths. Principals are very good at understanding about literacy. Many principals don't understand the new workforce. They're just not aware of the need for maths and statistics. So I congratulate you on running this colloquium and look forward to working with you into the future to make sure that we have the statisticians we need to be a successful country in what is a very much data-driven world. Thank you.